Hugh and Di McBain won the Pan Pac Hawke's Bay Farm Forester of the Year in 2014. But their involvement in farm forestry goes back many years before, having planted, managed and harvested trees for over 40 years on the family farm at Kahotea and a historic Langton house nearby. Over 140 different tree species have been planted on the farm, where Hugh is a fifth-generation farmer and his son Miles the sixth.
My great-grandfather and his wife came here in 1854 to found Kahotea College. Great-grandfather, as well as being a missionary, was a farmer. He had to be a farmer, as the missionaries did. He'd farmed the family property up in the Bay of Islands. He'd been running the farm at St John's College in Parnell when he was there. He ran the farming property at Otaki when he was there. And his role was to run the 7,000 acres of the Kahotea endowment that was given by the government and the Maori people to found Kahotea College. This property was divided off the Kahotea College land in 1906 when great-grandfather wanted his daughter and son-in-law to come and live here, and he built this house for them on 30 acres here at that time. We have 300 hectares on the other side of the valley. It is a mixed farming enterprise with dry stock, fattening Frisian bulls, lambs, and 50% of the income roughly comes from arable cropping. And of course now we hope that there will be a proportion of income coming from forestry, as we do to start harvesting quite soon. When I came here, the farm property had very few trees. The hills were pretty bare. Well, they were bare like other hills in the district. On the flat ground we had many Lombardy poplar shelter belts which were due to be felled. They were getting too old and were starting to fall down. So those all had to be cut down. So we were starting with virtually nothing. There was no encouragement for farmers on farms like ours to plant trees at that time. There was encouragement if you had land that was subject to erosion, but for us the whole focus was stacking more sheep on under the stock incentive scheme in the early 1970s. So I started by planting trees for shade and shelter and was greatly encouraged by a cousin of mine, Merrick Williams, who really started farm forestry in Hawke's Bay. He got me going on that. And then in the mid-80s, when subsidies were removed, I started planting for production forestry. We've got our first rotation of production forestry coming up now. That is part of the succession plan. Not a big part, but it's certainly something that helps. And Miles and Megan, my son and daughter-in-law, will replant that area, and then in 30 years' time they will harvest as well. The branch size has been kept down quite well, hasn't it? Yeah. No, that's good. As well as that, we believe we've got shade and shelter for stock, which is now a requirement for quality assurance with the meat companies. And we've got a much pleasanter environment, generally. Yeah, I like being an arable farmer because you get a new start every year. With forestry, you get a new start about every 30 years. If I was starting again, I wouldn't be planting Matsudana willows on the property. They suit some properties, not ours. They're too big and fall down pretty quickly. I'd plant less poplars, and one idea would be to, every time you put a poplar pole in, to put something like an oak beside it. Because really the poplars and willows, after 30 years, they become a nuisance and have to be replaced. The Farm Forestry Association advised people to think about putting 10%, the worst 10% of the hill country into pines, and that's what we have done here, and this was the first block to go in. So this will be ready to harvest in another couple of years. My thoughts are 90% pine and 10% trying other species. The reason for pine is that there's a market for it. It mightn't always be the price that you want, but you can sell it whereas with the other species that can be a difficulty. We've got a Hawke's Bay Farm Forestry trial for macrocarpa. There were 4 sites in Hawke's Bay, and really the trial showed that the canker is a big problem for us, and so that has put us off planting anymore. We've also got a small block of Acacia melanoxylon, but we had difficulty with that with frost initially, and we'll see what happens to that block, and hopefully we'll be able to sell it for timber at some stage.
There's the farming operation, which is cropping and livestock fattening, and then there's the contracting business, Kahotea Farming Limited. It offers a full range of services, from ploughing right through to planting. And then my wife's also got a landscaping architect business, which is all run sort of together as one. We fatten up to 3,000 lambs, which arrive on the property anywhere from the end of February onwards, and they're all gone by the 1st of October. And the bulls are all year round practice, and we fatten about 200 Frisian bulls. I want to follow in my father's footsteps and show a keen interest on forestry and other species, especially with my wife being into the landscape business. She's got a keen interest in that also.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.